Committee meeting for October the 5th, 2022. And this will be on video teleconferencing as a part of our way to get it out to the public. And we call this meeting to order, and I'm going to turn it over to Charlie Lewis as part of the agenda to talk about the items that are on next.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate everybody being here today. We've got some important stuff to cover obviously, and we're gonna juggle the agenda around a little bit to accommodate Mr. Hewitt, who's online with us, as well as Mr. Lawyer from the Hitchcock Group. But first up, we'll do item number 3, updates on RFP design build services. Robert.
Thank you, Charlie. So the advertisement was published in the newspaper, State Journal, on Sunday. It was posted on the county website on Monday. The RFP specifications, the master plan, and the relative statutes were included in the packet. There has already been interest shown in the project from a variety of firms. The deadline for submittals is October the 20th at 2 p.m. 6 bound copies are required. I have fielded a variety of questions from various firms as to the project, the scope, duration, things of that nature. So I feel confident that we'll get several submittals, and everything appears to be on track.
Okay. Any questions from anybody about that? Squire Tracy or Squire Muller?
I just want to thank Robert for working on that and getting that out in a timely manner. So thank you.
Yes, sir. I would like to say that, typically the court doesn't do design builds, but in this case, it will help speed the project along. It'll minimize the number of contracts that the court has to review, and this could be a new beginning of how we do things.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one
Go
quick
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
As I field questions on this is for the complete master plan, or is it phase 1?
Phase 1 only.
That's what, okay. Just want to make
Right,
sure.
Robert? Sorry, you should have answered, I guess.
Well, in the RFP, I did not limit the scope to any particular phase of the master plan in the event that the park committee and the court want to select projects from say phase 1 and phase 3 as the initial projects, or phase 2 and phase 1. I wanted to provide everyone the flexibility while working with the sports commission to determine what would be most advantageous for the fiscal court.
Robert, since this is being viewed publicly, would you discuss what's the difference between a design build and then going the other route that we normally go by hiring an architect and then a construction firm?
Yes, sir. So on your typical procurement with a architect, general contractor, and or construction manager, those are all 3 separate procurements, 3 separate contracts determined at 3 different portions of the project. The design build process provides, according to the statute, as an alternative procurement procedure, allows for both the architects, the management, and the contractor to work as a team. And so therefore you save time and you minimize the number of contracts that have to be submitted through court, because we know that advertising, procuring, and legislating those contracts is very timely. So I mean, it takes a long time. So by having a design build, you're bringing the team together all at once. So from the beginning, and that's the advantage to the design build versus the traditional method where you select you select your entities in phases.
All right, any
At the
other
end of the
questions?
day, the job gets done. I mean, either way.
Do you think there's any savings of money?
Well, the savings in money can, money is time in construction. So as we all know, through the pandemic and continuing that prices have fluctuated dramatically. Sometimes the longer you wait, the higher the price goes. So design build is a much faster process. It may or may not cost more, but it allows you to lock in pricing so you can budget faster. And that's the advantage to the design build. And I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, to the best you can. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. All right, Charlie.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Let's go to the next one. You're gonna be here for this one, I think, too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item number 4 are updates on the professional services agreement with Hitchcock Design Group. And we've got Mr. Randy Royer with us today. Randy, take it away.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I hope all's well down there. I put together as far as for the commission, that scope of work, putting the commission together, the sports commission, put together a schedule that I wanted to run by everybody, get some dates out there. And if this schedule works for you all, then I'd like to ask Robert to help us. And I've got a list of stakeholder groups that we're going to want to talk to. But let me start with the schedule first. We'd like to do the project kickoff on October 17th. Down there, Eddie Jones, who's on the call, and I will come down, meet with the stakeholders, or the stakeholder groups that day. And we're assuming this is going to be kind of an all-day event, where be multiple stakeholder groups. And then we will come back down on November 9th to have a second round of community leadership meetings. And once we get through the first round, we'll get our thoughts together, based on what we heard, and then be ready to schedule the second round, November the 9th. And then through October and November is when we'll evaluate the existing agreements and revenue streams. And this is based on information that we're going to get through those first two meetings. Then November and December, draft the Sports Tourism Commission proposal. And then by December 13th or 14th, present the draft proposal, and we can do that virtually to you all, and then give you an opportunity to think about it, make sure that it sounds, okay, you agree with it. And then in February, by February 15th or the 22nd, we'll do an in-person presentation for the final documents to the city and the county. So we're kind of going from October to February, but trying to keep it moving the entire time. But that's the schedule that preliminary schedule that we'd like to put out there for your comment. See if that works for you.
Randy, obviously we have Robin Antonucci here with tourism. We have Patricia Waldridge with the city of Frankfurt on the Board of Commission. And I think it's imperative that we define, this group defines what stakeholders or who the stakeholders are.
Yep.
Make sure that all of all of that is clear as we move forward, because first thing, everybody's getting a copy of, what you sent us, and what you just went over, the kickoff meeting on October the 17th, the community leadership meeting, city and county leadership. And tell me what you're thinking, and then we'll add to. I think we all need to be really clear, and I expect Squire Tracy and Squire Muller and everybody else to speak up as we move forward when it's called for leadership in our community.
Sure. Well, to begin, Robert and I had a brief conversation about this, and then I ran some of this by Eddie. So Eddie, if you want, please feel free to jump in here. But for start, to start the conversation, we're thinking the stakeholder groups that we were thinking about was, number one, County Park Committee, which would be you, Scotty, Michael, and then we'd also include Charlie and Robert in that stakeholder group. And then another stakeholder group for the city, which would be the mayor, I think is it Laura Hag, the city manager, city parks director, and city commissioner, or at least one city commissioner. And then the CVB, Robin, and then probably at least one of her board members, if not more, and then some representatives of the Chamber of Commerce as another stakeholder. So in total, we're looking at probably 4 stakeholder groups.
Okay.
And that.
All right. Any thoughts on that, Scotty or Michael?
I'm okay. I mean, this is what they do, so, I'm trusting them. I don't think we missed anybody, I guess.
Do we need the schools? Do we need KSU? Do we need anything else? I don't know. Is this the time for them?
Yeah, I think, Judge, I think that's a great question. Randy, is this the time to bring, the school systems in and maybe Kentucky State University?
Eddie, I'm going to lean on you on this question.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me well. I didn't plan well for this meeting. So hopefully you can hear me, and occasionally you'll hear screams behind me. So I think the initial group is based on the experience we had in McCracken County. I remember that we eventually had some meetings with the Hotel Association because they had obviously a great deal of interest in what we were doing. Because it was going to add a percentage to their bill, and we had to walk through how the money had to be spent toward tourism that would actually increase heads and beds. And once we completed that message, they were on board. Didn't have a situation with a university or school system. So that's kind of a new thought that wasn't present in our community, but I could see where it would make sense to get the particular university on board.
Okay. Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate you being on. We could go with the initial meeting on the 17th of just this, and then expand it out. It looked like. Go ahead. Robin.
My thought, because of the way our local tax structure exists for both the city and the county, it might be valuable to have the county treasurer and city finance director involved at some level in these.
Okay.
meetings.
That's part
I
of
wrote
that.
her down on ours one week.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good
Thank
idea.
you. All right.
Um,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to share, because we're far behind. This is sort of taking off without the city, because we're still very confused on what we're doing and how we're doing. And so the purpose of this, I'm gathering, since the city really hasn't had much to say or anything on this, I'm assuming this is strategically planned to do a sports commission through the county to help pay for your park. And it's really not a plus for the city, because I'm not seeing where we come in here. So maybe they can help me understand that, because we've sort of been out of the loop. We haven't been to meetings. We don't know what's going on. I've talked to both the mayor, I've talked to Laura Haig, and we're all still confused. And I, of course, am on the Parks Committee to talk about these things, and I get invited sometimes the last meeting. Tamara got this one out pretty good where I can get it on my calendar, but where are we at? I mean, is this something that the county's trying to push to pay for the park? Or is this something we're trying to do for the betterment of our community? Because I'm not understanding how the community, how this county is pushing a sports commission, and you guys don't run any of the sports in our town. So I'm a little confused on that, on how we haven't had a word or a talk or anything in this. So I'm not really 100% on with this. And I've really told my staff, as far as our city manager and our mayor, like, I don't think we should be in on this conversation, because I don't see how it's benefiting us right now. Numbers I've seen does not benefit the city. It's taking money away from the city. So I just need to know if this is a focus to pay for the park in Lakeview, and we're getting just pulled in just to say that, oh, we're working with the city, or is there really going to be an effort and where we need to be? Because we're long gone. I would say that if you're trying to add the city in this, that we would have been in conversations way before this and not showing up in news articles in the State Journal or on papers like this, that the city's here. That's so.
Squire Muller,
just a
you said
little-
you've had talks with the mayor. Go ahead. I thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this because we don't know what sports commission is yet. I mean, that's where we're at. This is part of the process, and we've all talked about it. Like, we don't know if we're gonna do it or what it entails. I mean, we have the experts on. I mean, I'd love to hear from Eddie or Randy, you know, as far as the whole layout, because this isn't what I do. You know, I mean, we're trying to figure it out. I mean, that's all part of the master plan, is to explore what it means and what it means for the whole community.
Eddie, can you talk a little bit about the process in Paducah and what it's done for the community, you know, both county and city?
Sure. And we went through the same sort of analysis where it did kind of begin as a county idea, and there was some initial hesitancy, as you would expect from city government, because everybody needs to understand, all right, how's this going to impact our lives and our situation and our mission. What we ultimately ended up with was as we interpret the statutes, we realized that there was a way to increase the revenue that could be devoted toward tourism by dividing the city-county Joint Tourism Commission into two separate commissions. And that allowed us to, in essence, charge an additional amount to what I call the bouncer fee, or the cover charge, to our city. For our city and county, it increased the revenue from transient room tax from about $1 million to $2 million. Next year to go from about 1.2 to 2.4. So it doubled the income and revenue, and that was revenue that wasn't paid by anyone from McCracken County. So we were all very much interested in that type of revenue. But we have a slightly different, I guess, dynamic than Frankfort has, in that in McCracken County, all of the hotels that were in the city were also in the county. There was only one hotel that was in the county that wasn't in the city, because these two, this revenue stacks. So in essence, the city was able to keep charging what they charge. As a county, we collect it for them and give it to them. And there was one hotel that just pays the county. So there was a slight difference. I understand that you'll have a little difference, or a little more difference rather. What we suggested in the last meeting is a good analogy is we're essentially talking about a friendly divorce in which we continue to date and pay alimony. So it may be that the county ends up with more revenue, and I'm sorry if the analogy is offensive, but it works pretty well. So the county may end up with more revenue. The city may end up with less revenue than the county, but obviously there's a math way to fix that, so that the existing mission of the existing CVB, which is probably to market Frankfort and advertise and ask people to visit, doesn't take a hit. And you manage that through an interlocal agreement between the city, the county CVB, and the city CVB.
Patricia, do you have a question for Eddie or Mr. Royer? Yeah,
And
you
so,
understand it?
and so in regarding, yeah, so, and I'm sorry, I'm behind, but, in putting this commission together, I don't know Eddie's last name, Mr. Eddie, I'm sorry, Eddie.
Please call me Eddie. I'm just an Eddie.
Okay,
Just
in
a minute.
regards to that, like with the city, and I don't know how these involve with our parks or what this commission is gonna be over or what have you, but it seems majority of the parks and sports is basically in the city. So we own all the parks except for one park, the county owns. And then we do all the sports and everything through our parks and things of that nature. So it's almost like everything is run through our city in regards to me that would go sort of to the sports commission that would then, I guess, these revenues is gonna try to help pay for this Lakeview Park. But is this something that's gonna be, I guess, for the whole for our whole park system that's going to come together, I guess, you know? Is this a focus on Lakeview Park going into this, for this to be a hub for something, and then all the city parks are sort of on their own and what that looks like? And I may be a little off because I'm not 100% on what's going on, so I apologize. So.
That's all right. I think it's a great question and one that came up often in McCracken County. The focus to remember is that when you create a CVB, a city CVB and a county CVB, there are specific statutes that say here's how you're supposed to do it. And off memory, don't hold me to it, but I think it's KRS 91A.390. And what that statute says is, hey, you can collect this money from the hotel tax if you want, but if you do, you have to use it on tourism promotion of tourism, which is likely then to benefit the hotel industry and the restaurant industry, put more heads in beds and more people at tables of restaurants, which is why they are then populated into the commission. This commission will be a 7-person commission by statute. 3 of the members of that commission will have to be from the hotel industry. 1 will have to be from the restaurant industry. 1 will be picked by your Chamber of Commerce and 2 by your county judge at large. So the statute says a portion of that money that is collected can be used to build things that will promote tourism, that will attract folks. So you can't use this. A good example from McCracken County, we have 3 very rural ball fields that only the residents of McCracken County use. So you can't really use this to offset your typical park expense. It has to be an expense that someone could reasonably tie toward the promotion of tourism. An example of what we did in McCracken County, we have a convention center that is also a joint city venture. And so we were able to increase that funding for it. It was getting a 1% of the hotel charge. Because we created 2 CVBs, they were able to get 2%, which took their revenue from about $35,000 a month to $70,000 a month, which helped them in their operations. And then we used part of the county initial 3% money. We had a large expo center that sat vacant most of the time, unless there was a quilt show once a week. So we spent about $600,000. I'm sorry, Donald Duck's about to join me. I'll be fast and mute. We used about $600,000 of that to buy a sports court and work that to an interlocal agreement. I'm going to mute and find a quieter spot.
That's quite entertaining, Eddie.
I know. I thought he was at like a ball field or
I didn't
something.
know, I was like, what is the Donald Duck? But,
I bet he's in Disney.
It's gotta be.
Disney World. That'd be my guess.
yeah.
Come on, we want to see him, Eddie.
Let's say hi to Donald Duck
Yeah.
from Kentucky. I don't think that's Disney.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think he thinks we're talking to him because he had to go silent.
He couldn't hear.
All right, well, they're on the other side of the lake, but they're coming back this way.
So Eddie, I appreciate your explanation. I do, it gives me a little bit more understanding, still not 110% on board. I'll find out more, I'm sure as I go. One issue I do have, I can bring up, like, I'm not okay, this is a city county thing, I'm not okay with the 7 members, definitely 2 coming from the judge. You know, I think that one definitely needs to be split, and I'm not even saying, I'm a person that I'm trying not to put politics in it, so I could care less if one was from the mayor or the judge. I would rather it be maybe from their commissions and from their boards and a discussion, and not from one particular person from that board. Those boards should communicate that and discuss that, and put forth something. I think our community is trying to move past and try to move forward from political positions on committees. So I definitely, knowing if we continue moving forward and the city is in this, then we definitely would like to see a change there. And definitely would like to see on how those members are put, as far as the 2 that fell underneath of the judge position. I understand the other 4, so.
All right, so they're rounding the lake. I think I can get this in real quick. So these 2 commissions will be, they are formed by statute. So you have to follow the statute on these 2 things. And while you're exactly right, we do joint mayor and judge appointments often in Paducah and McCracken County, for example, our convention center and many other joint ventures. Because this won't be a joint venture, the way the statute requires this to be set up is there'll be a city CVB, and the county judge will not appoint to the city CVB, and there'll be a county CVB, and the mayor won't appoint to that. So there'll be independent CVBs, but what I've found in practice is that the county judge and the mayor kind of work together to make sure that we had a group of people who were going to collaborate and work together on the commission.
Thank you.
Eddie, did you all end up giving, money back to the county tourism? Or was all the money that collected from the hotel motel tax going into county tourism? And then did county tourism promote county facilities for tourism, or were they promoting just ball fields? You're mute. Yeah, you're muted. We can't hear you, Eddie.
Okay, sorry. So I've got a noisy barge of cartoon guys coming. But what we did is divided by mission. In our interlocal agreement, the city said, we're going to stay on mission. We're going to do the advertising. And then the county said, we'll do the sports fields. And the city said, great. I think we'll have to do something a little different in Frankfort, because the money won't be as equal as it was in McCracken County. I would expect that when we start looking at the dollars that will be generated, the city CVB operation may be left with a deficit if we don't do some sort of transfer, which is where the analogy to alimony comes in.
Good point.
Man.
Yeah.
And so my other question is in regards to, you keep referring back to McCracken and Paducah and their commissions. And at what stage were you guys working on the commissions? Because right now, I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, I'm not saying a sport commission will be great or whatever, maybe it will be, but I don't know. I guess hypothetically speaking, I feel like we're getting the cart before the horse, because if we're gonna bring in tourism, our fields are horrible right now. I mean, let's be honest, we got a lot of work. We've got fields to turf, we've got parks to impress, we've got tennis courts to redo, we've got all these things to redo. What are we bringing them into Frankfort for right now? Because if we can't get them in right now with what we have, shouldn't our focus be on improving our parks for right now for this commission? Because I'm not seeing where this is going besides the city lacking on some funds in overall. And I just want to make sure I'm protecting our taxpayers and our city folks here in the residents. I do want money. I want more revenue. I want sport tourism. I mean, I want all of that. I want new parks, indoor facilities. Where does this go? And are we getting the cart before the horse and really pushing this fast rather than making sure that we have the money? Well, I'm not me. The county has the money for Lakeview, and we have the money to put in all of our city parks to get them up to par to even want people to come in and consider sport tourism in Frankfurt. Where do we fall on that?
Well, I can tell you, so we started our conversation in May of 2019, I think, and we had several meetings, and by November, we had reached an agreement of, hey, yeah, this will work for us, and here's how we'll spin it forward. And that was in November. So it took us 6 months of talking, thinking, scratching our heads, figuring out what to do. So what's the end result? I told you about the $600,000 that the sports courts went into the expo center, but that only works if you have an empty expo center, right? But we were able to do that. I can tell you that now in February, there are volleyball tournaments in that building, and you can't get a hotel in Paducah at least 2 of the weekends of February. We have spent all total since we put the plan in place, we've collected an additional $3 million of revenue from people who don't live in Paducah or McCracken County, but rather visit. We have spent $1 million of it, and we've got $2 million of it in the bank, which we're going to put together with our ARPA money to build an outdoor sports field that will have about 12 to 14 turf fields. So, does that work for Frankfurt? I'm not sure yet. I do believe that there's additional revenue that can be collected to build something that is related to sports tourism there.
Thank you.
Robin, do you have an idea how much revenue is being generated by the hotel motel tax in the city and in the county together?
In the last fiscal year, the total transient tax collected was $490,000. About 200 of that was from the county hotels. So that was as of June 30th of this year, the last fiscal year. I
So it's
think
about 300,000 from the city and about 200,000 from the county?
roughly. I mean, it can vary, but that was last year's. And
Yeah.
of course, we had some volatile years just immediately prior.
And what kind of rate are you seeing in filling them up, occupancy rate?
I don't have that data right now for the fiscal year. Our typical occupancy is in the 50, on an average over 12 months, about 56-7%. I think it has gone up slightly in the last year. I think travel has rebounded after COVID, sort of at a rate equal to, if not slightly higher than 2019. That's what data from the state is showing us. And that's what my numbers quarterly, when I look over past years, seem to indicate.
What does the summertime, and I'm speaking May through September, look like occupancy wise?
Typically, those are our busiest months, and typically our hotel rooms are full.
So, and that's without much ball field stuff.
That's the last 5 years.
Yeah.
We have, a lot of weddings here. Of course, the bourbon industry has driven a dramatic increase in leisure travelers for bourbon. The fall, sometimes late spring, but more often the fall, September, October is busy, has historically been busy for meetings and conferences. We're slight disadvantage from that because of venue space. But we do see, gatherings, reunions, receptions, and things like that, corporate events in the fall more heavily than other times of the year. So typically April through October we have high occupancy. The other thing, as I think I've mentioned to maybe you or someone, when there is a major disaster in this state, it brings a lot of people into Frankfurt for the emergency management components of things. And so we do see bumps in, not, God forbid, we have to deal with that, but it is a reality that people come in for working with the governor or working with the National Guard, folks and things like that. So we've seen that this year, obviously, from last year's tornado and this year's flooding.
Can I ask Robinson?
I had a couple, could I just say a couple things maybe that Randy can hear? When Robert talked about the design build, and I understand, you know, it's phase 1 through 3. So depending on what comes back as with proposals and what is ultimately selected, I would ask that, or ask if there is going to be a revision to the pro forma, because the pro forma that was completed in the master plan, you know, was based on all 3 phases. So if there's an adjustment, I think we need to relook at that pro forma, because the dollars revenue generated might be different, as well as the cost outlay might be different. And then I think,
You want to let him answer that?
sure. Thank you.
I mean, if depending on how this shakes out, if it needs to be updated, it can be updated.
Okay, okay. And I think back to some of the conversation that was held over the last few minutes, you know, I think that one of the things that has come up here that we'll need to address when you're in town is that, you know, maybe different in McCracken, but we have 14 attractions within the county outside of the city that we promote as the Joint Tourist Commission. So that will be something that we'll have to address as to how that promotion goes forward. So anyway, I just wanted to make those points.
Okay, that it?
For the moment, yeah.
Okay, and do you want to have what?
Robin, can I ask, this, I can
Sure.
ask you anytime, the new dorm building that Kentucky State University is building, will that take all the kids out of the hotel downtown? Because I know like half of the occupancy is taken, right?
That, yeah,
Mhm.
they're occupying about 88 rooms right now. When the dorm is built, that should alleviate that. You know, I don't know if that will mean that the university doesn't need any hotel rooms. I really don't know, but it should minimize at least the number from what we have now.
Okay.
I think she's absolutely right. I think it will minimize. I can't say that it's gonna be total zero,
Yeah,
just given the circumstances of other dorms on campus that will need to be renovated and
Right.
certain issues they're having in other dorms. So it does look like a savior of a dorm, but when you're taking other kids out of some of the other dorms
Right.
because of some of the ongoing issues, then you're looking at some of the same, you know, it's like you're moving kids around.
Right,
And so we're hoping it would be a zero. I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
hope for
But it
them to
might
do
not.
that. But with numbers trying to increase as well for new students coming in the next year and things of that nature, I do foresee that it always could be a possibility to go back to the capital.
yeah, enrollment would be the other.
Yeah.
yeah,
trigger.
all right, thank you.
So, but I just wanted to add, Judge, earlier is, you know, in regards to your conversation and question to Ms. Antonucci here is that, you know, Frankfurt, we have just a handful of hotels, you know, and that's where we need to think about economic growth and where we, the county and city, need to have those conversations in. Where does another hotel come in? When is another hotel coming in and things of that nature? Because we could bring a good sport commission and bring these people in right now, and they're still gonna have to stay in Georgetown and Versailles. Because these rooms are gonna fill up, and given the numbers that Robin had given, I mean, there's not gonna be a lot of place for them if they come in simultaneously in some of these things that are ongoing, you know, during Bourbon on Banks or during some of the other stuff, you know, these people are gonna have to stay in Versailles, and they have what, one hotel, I think now? Maybe one or two. So you're looking, you know, it's still travel time. So not only do we have to think about sport commission and think about moving forward, we have to start thinking bigger on what we're going to start doing in this economic development on hotels, because we've got to bring in hotels. I mean, I'm out of town every weekend with my son who travels soccer. And I mean, I'm in E-Town, and we're going to Missouri this weekend. I was just in Nashville. The week before that, we were in Indianapolis. And I mean, you know, it's hard to get, you know, 100-something teams together and get us all from one place. We are stretched out even in bigger cities, but we've got to start thinking about that too. And I know you and I have had that conversation on needing hotel space over the past couple of years and things, And I know that we were under the contract or whatever with Capitol Plaza, but it's just something that we also need to take into consideration, and we can't leave that pertinent part out.
One of the pieces that is hugely important on what you're talking about is the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan moves forward. We're not going in, you're not gonna build any hotels if you can't, if you have to go and rezone and go through this process with clear that rezoning is not the answer. So the comprehensive plan is gonna have to take in consideration, if this is what you're wanting, if this is what the community wants and this is where you're going, you're gonna have to look at land that would be for commercial use, for, and retail and all of that as well.
Right, and that's what we have to do. I mean, we look at it right now, we bring these people and they're gonna stay in other places. So those numbers that we're adding and showing, oh, this money could come in for restaurants and gas and hotels. Well, actually, that whole number wouldn't be coming into our town because we wouldn't have enough places right now to keep them.
Well, an
So-
example is 2 weeks ago, we had the All-A Classic Soccer Tournament,
Mhm.
16 teams from all over the state. None of them stayed in Frankfurt. There was no space.
I
So
do
that's
know,
what you're talking
Patricia,
about.
we did bring that up to
Yeah.
Eddie because they're in E-Town, and he
Yeah.
said, basically, we're kind of doing what they did, because the hotels won't come until they know that
There's
they're
a
gonna be
need.
successful. So they started with 2, started their whole sports thing, now they have 14.
Mhm.
So it's kind of, I think but you're absolutely right as far as zoning and where we're gonna put them
Yeah.
and division to see where
I
we're
just see
going.
dollar signs.
Yeah, oh, absolutely,
Fields,
absolutely.
updating fields and
Yep.
doing all of these things. I mean, I know we just put $150,000 for tennis courts and we've got to
Yeah.
update things.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's money, and then hotels.
Yep.
Money and, okay.
Robert, I think you wanting to say something. Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, sir. I just want to advise the park committee that I'm working and already have on file a development plan for a new hotel with 80 rooms, Spring Hill Suites on Versailles Road. Of course, within proximity to Lakeview Park, we are working with them and the plant board for a water main extension, which the plant board has been working on for several months. So that project is forthcoming.
Is that gonna require a zone change or anything, Robert?
No, sir.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
That would be a county hotel. That's good. Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Did you have a question for Robert too, Michael? You
No,
said-
no,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Randy?
Yes.
Hearing all this, you see why it's imperative that we have all the people at the table that need to be at the table as part of this discussion.
And that's why we want to have these stakeholder meetings. It's to help people understand what this will do for them from a variety of different perspectives. It's an economic generator. I understand the concern about getting the cart before the horse, but in Paducah, they had this commission set before they started the whole master planning process for the ball fields that they're getting ready to, they just signed the contracts to kick that off. So it was a funding mechanism. And it's hard to see it standing at this point, but it does benefit the entire community because it brings more people in. And when some of these developers, and I think Robert mentioned it before, when they start seeing the number of people that are coming in for these different events, the hoteliers are going to say, well, we've got to go find land around there somewhere. And that's going to help drive that. But you've got to have some funding in place to be able to build these improvements. But when we get into the stakeholder meetings, we can talk to all the variety of stakeholders, listen to their concerns, and be able to answer those individually and hopefully get everybody on the same page.
Judge Wells, I would just like to restate to the park committee and everyone watching that the county has taken a comprehensive approach to this in that we are creating a sports commission and a design build team that are going to come together with the city and the county and tourism and any other stakeholder, so that we're all working together at the same time. So that's how we keep the horse in front of the cart. So I feel like we're on the right path, and I'm just excited to see that we're getting a plan that we just had adopted being implemented, and we're moving forward. And I think that's very exciting. But I think we're doing it in the quickest, most comprehensive way to keep all parties together.
Okay. Any other questions? Squire Tracy, you haven't said anything. You got any comments?
No, sir, I'm good. I just want to, I will say thank you to Robert for again, working on it, and thank you to Randy and Eddie for joining us today.
So Randy, you see this as a process, and you're saying, the final documents wouldn't be signed and completed and all voted on, up or down till February. Is that correct? That's the way your timeline is working?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not, so this is not being, for the sake of the Board of Commissioners and on the city side. This is the beginning, basically, and so Patricia, I know you feel 6 steps behind.
We
but-
are.
But you can see that the Hitchcock Group is coming in next week to start meeting with everybody to start. It's a long process. It's not, this is more of a marathon, not a track race. So
Right.
it's going to take time.
I
long
understand
time.
that, Judge. And I respect that. And it's not that I'm opposed to this. I mean, I had meetings with Magistrate Mueller several times before this hit the fan, of different ideas, of expressing different ideas. We, the city, just felt like that one idea was grabbed and continued running. When I look at a partnership is people at the table talking about this. We should have already known Randy. We should have already known Eddie. That's what a partnership is. Just like anybody else in buying something. If you go buy something and you're gonna make an investment, you don't go back and buy it and be like, okay, Tamara, here's your portion, you're gonna pay, and here's what you're gonna get out of it. She should have been in the very, very first conversation. And that's all I'm asking for. And that's what we have to be intentional about in the city and county moving forward and working together. It's not that you continue to move on and then you invite the county or then you invite the city. And I'm speaking on both parts of being fair. It's about doing the right thing and being able to be at the table. We should have already had conversations with them. We should have already known. We should not be getting just dates today talking about we're going to be a stakeholder. We are a partner with the county in this, if that's the way the county sees it, but that's not the way I'm seeing it now. And it's been delivered to me. That's why I was glad that I was invited to this meeting in time to come to this meeting, so I could get a little bit more understanding from Mr. Warrior and Eddie as well. Because it's not understanding, and our city does have a lot of loopholes. And if this is a real true partnership, there wouldn't be as many loopholes for us to ask these questions. I understand it's the start because we have all the dates, but to me, that's not how a partnership goes. So I'm just asking to be forthcoming, keep us at the table. If this is what you really want to partner with the city, we need to be at the table at all times. And if not, then that's on us for not showing up.
But
But that's all.
and I appreciate everything you say, but just know, last park meeting was the first time we met Eddie and talked about it. So, it truly is.
Mhm.
And I know, probably you should have been invited earlier in that one, that's fine, but there hasn't been, we're just trying to figure this out. And it's
And
for the
that's what
good
we
of the whole
wanna do,
community.
Because
Yeah,
everybody's money is
Yeah.
very low right now.
well, yeah,
So every time something is looking at revenue or looking at
Yeah.
money, and I know this, it could be money, because I'm very supportive of tourism,
right.
very supportive of sports, you know that.
Yeah,
And
I know.
support our
And we all
ideas
are.
that
We're
put
doing
down
this for the
with
good of
different
everybody.
things.
We want it for the whole
I
community.
just, this is.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're all on board.
Yeah.
And that we're not sidetracked in the tourism or the city or anything like that, that we are in on this together.
Yeah.
Like, this is.
Yeah, and in the end, you may not be on board.
Yeah.
In the end, this may not be what something you want to do.
Correct.
And it may be something that the county wants to do and move.
Or vice versa. We don't know.
Right.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, we don't know.
So nobody knows
Yeah.
right now. On board is not going to be the same today. It may not be the same today as it will be in February. So I don't know. We don't know.
And that's the purpose of the
According to
stakeholder
my-
meeting.
That, I agree, Randy. That is the purpose of the stakeholder meeting, where everybody can start understanding
Mhm.
what is,
Yeah.
what our options are, what can be done and all that.
Mhm.
Judge Wells, if I could just remind everyone that the fiscal court just a week and a half ago approved the contract with Hitchcock Design Group for the creation of the Sports Commission. So this is all still very fresh. So we're very early stages.
How much was the contract?
27,000.
So when we ask for a partnership, we always ask you guys for half, not that we wouldn't pay it or whatever, but I'm just saying, it just shows that we are together in doing this. And we have to be intentional in our steps forward to really fall behind that we're doing this together. That's all I'm saying.
Will you pay half?
No, you can pay, you pay 75,000 for the ambulance.
You got this. You got it.
But no, I'm just saying that that's a true partnership, and not to say that we would have said no, because it's something that I think we're interested in and we want, but we were not afforded that opportunity because it seems to be a county thing and not a partnership. Because I wouldn't have said no to it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and it really is a county thing. The county is initiating this. Just like in McCracken County. McCracken County was the one that initiated there.
Mhm.
And it took 6 months to get the city on board.
Well,
That's what
actually,
it
the
is.
conversation started with individuals that was concerned about the pool. That's how it actually happened. It started with the conversation of a pool, of that issue of with KSU, and then what we're gonna do, and are we gonna build a pool or not, and the whole Lakeview issue. This is when this all started, and it started with a few people at tables and people making phone calls and people demanding a pool in their community.
Okay,
So, but
all right.
Any other questions, or we'll move to the next agenda item? Okay,
All right, Randy, and Eddie, thank you. Well, Eddie, will you be on Zoom next, week when this comes
No,
about?
I will be, I'll be coming there Sunday night before the Monday meeting. I'll be present. I won't have Disney with me.
Okay, all right,
right.
all right, thank you.
All right. Well, that barge is coming back around.
All right,
Thank you for letting me join by Zoom.
all right, thank
Thank
you,
you,
Eddie.
everyone. We'll see you
Thank you,
soon.
Randy.
Thank you.
Guys. All right, now we'll have some housekeeping business.
next agenda item, discussion of employee salary adjustment. This is something I probably should have addressed in, many moons ago in previous budgets and stuff. And I apologize for that, but, this employee is a highly skilled and educated employee, he's very experienced. And he's in a very specialized position. Continues to take on additional duties, both on the golf course and in and around the park. And I appreciate the opportunity to bring it to the committee for, the potential of an adjustment, so I'll leave it at that.
Charlie, just kind of an overview. He does so many things at the park. That he runs the sprinkler system, he coordinates cutting the grass, he puts the chemicals on, he changes the flags.
He does any and all of the above, and and anymore, we've got him out in the park going to the soccer fields and helping us maintain those with, fertilizer program. The Carter House yard, just like a lot of people treat their yards. We've got him doing helping us maintain some weeds in the yards and pesticide, herbicide program there.
So obviously he's licensed in those
Yes,
for
yes.
chemicals and stuff, which is
Those
a
are
specialty item.
Part of his special certification.
He maintains the license, yes, and, irrigation maintenance, pond maintenance, that pond can be a booger
It could be a
sometimes.
full-time job there.
Yeah, he's increased his knowledge annually in, mechanics of the specialized golf course equipment. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, he's a very, very valued employee.
Yeah.
I can't-
Probably
I can't
look
say
around
it.
Central Kentucky, probably,
Yeah,
not one of the highest paid.
he's well known.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any questions, Squire Tracy or Squire Muller on this?
Okay, any other business? Our last agenda item, any other business?
I got a question.
I just-
Robin? Hold on.
Can we be assured that if these meeting dates change or there's any other park committee meeting that we will be notified? Because we haven't always known when these meetings are.
Amber?
I have asked Pam to make sure that you all are on a standing invite.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Because we're gonna, like, I'm gonna tell my board about the stakeholder date, so just
Okay.
if there's a change, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And can we send this to our city manager so she can make sure that this fits in with our schedule? I know this October 17th, we have a big meeting, but I don't know what time this one is. It doesn't say a time. It just says a 1-day trip. So
I believe I sent it to her already, so.
it just doesn't have times on here, so it'd just be
Right.
great. So we know.
Just make sure,
that
Tamara, that
meeting
you
has-
have.
You said you have an all-day meeting?
Huh?
You have an all-day meeting?
No, it's not
Oh.
all day meeting. I just know it's a big meeting and I don't know what time, but if we need to move that one back because
Okay.
that's city folks, then maybe we could do that and not, since so many other people are involved, we can keep your time.
Okay.
We just want to make sure.
And I don't know if it matters to them on the 17th, who goes when too, so if we know your schedule, it shouldn't be a big deal.
Okay.
All right, then.
All right.
All right.
What did you say, Tamara? We need to have a motion that the park committee approves the salary recommendation for
I'll make a motion to
the
approve.
golf course attendant. There's a motion. Squire Tracy, you okay with it?
Does he want to make a second?
I'll make the second. Squire Tracy, yes? You okay? All right. Everybody's in favor.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other business from there?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none, I just need a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for watching. Thanks, Robert.